Hey, how you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we start in Daf Tzadivav, Daf 96 of Masechta Ksubis, friends. Well, today we start the 11th parak of Masechta Ksubis. Friends, we're getting close. How close? I don't know, 2 weeks? Ooh, 2 weeks, that ain't bad. Alright, what am I going to tell you? So, wait, Babylon, one sec. Alright, so the first thing, so we start off with the beginning of the 11th parak. Talks about the mizonis of an almonah. That sounds like a lot of fun, right? Alright, says the Mishnah. Almonah nizonis minichse yisom. So the almonah, the widow, gets her food gets supported from the estate that is now in the possession of the heirs. Ma'aseh of the orphans. Let's see, is somebody coming or is somebody going? Ooh, someone's coming. Okay. Oh, slammed the door. Okay. Great. Talking. Man, what are we like? We haven't even started, basically. All right. So, almonah nizonis minichse yisomim. So an almonah gets sustained from the estate of the yisomim, of the orphans, and the stuff that she makes belongs to the orphans, because the orphans are paying for her pizza. And they don't need to pay for her burial when she dies, because instead the people who would inherit her ksubah pay for her burial. So, right, because as we'd said, right, ksubasa tachas kvurasa, right, that when she dies, so if the husband's still alive, so then the husband inherits the ksubah, but then he's got to pay for her burial. So in this case, right, so then if somebody else, do I need it? No, I think I silenced my phone, but I'm seeing the notifications. Oof. Alright, what am I going to tell you? Should I turn those off? I don't want to get up though. Alright, what am I going to tell you? So in this case, right, so let's say, I don't know, I was learning with my father on Yom Kippur night, so we were trying to concoct a situation that this could be talking about. So let's say she dies and she doesn't have any kids, so then I guess her father, if he's alive, can collect the ksubah. So then the father, if he's collecting the ksubah, would be in charge of burying her. Okay, I'm gonna maybe flip over my phone so I don't see it light up every time there's a notification. Excuse me, 1 second. Alright, I think we're ready for the Gemara. We're ready for the Gemara? Okay, says the Gemara. Ibarlu de'asa kasha. What's the kasha? Nizonis tanano ha. Now that's a kasha. Nizonis tanano ha nizonis tanan. Alright, it's not such a big kasha. So, excuse me, okay. Babel cough, is that a thing? It's not as good as babel yawn. Excuse me, 1 sec, babel cough. So, the shaila is, when the pasuk says almonah nizonis, is it almonah nizonis? Or is it almonah ha-nizonis? So, nizonis tanan, do we say almonah nizonis, uchanshe galil? And like the people in the Galilee, velo sagi, velo yaivila, that there's no option to not give her, double negative. I.e., it's like the people in the Galil that there's no choice. They have to give her food, right? So almonah nizonis minichse yisomim, and a widow. Is somebody knocking on the door? I don't think so. What are they doing? Knocking with a hammer? All right. So is it almonah nizonis that almonah needs to be sustained? Or is it almonah, right? So chanchi gal, like the people in the Galilee, v'lo sagi v'lo yaivila, and there's no option to, right? They have to sustain her. Odilma hani zonis tanar. Maybe it's that. What is all this noise? Or is it hani zonis? Right? Who happens to be sustaining? Excuse me. There's a lot of noise. I'll be right back. Okay, where was I? So odilma hani zonis. It's like the people in Judah that, as Rashi says, they have the option in Yehuda. They would like offer, if they would. What does Rashi say? He says they would write in the Ksubah That you're going to get mizonos until the Yorshin decide that they just want to pay your ksuba and say you're on, goodbye and good luck. So is it like the Anshe Yehuda said, Hani Zonis, who happens to be sustained, i.e., that they haven't yet said to her goodbye and good luck. Vibo lo yaivilu. If they want, they don't have to give mizonos, just pay the ksuba now. So Tashma, coming here, the Amr Bzer, the Bzer says, says Shmuel, that they quote a Brisa, Metzias Amona le'atzmo. That the stuff that a widow finds, she can keep. So Yomut Bishlama Hani Zonis Tanan. So I understand if the Mishnah means Hani Zonis, who happens to be sustained by the orphans. So what does it mean that whatever she finds, she can keep? It's talking about a situation where she is not being sustained by the orphans, and therefore she doesn't need to give her the stuff that she finds, right? So Shapir. So it's talking about where she's not being sustained. They paid off her ksuba. Now they say goodbye and good luck, and then she starts finding stuff, and she can keep it. So the Yomart Nizon is Tanam. But if you say that an almona must be sustained, supported by the orphans, well then Nahavu Kibal. Well, if they need to support her, so then it should basically just be like the husband who has to support her. Just like by a husband who's paying for her pizza, so whatever she finds, she has to give to him, because after all, he's paying for her pizza. So then, if that's the case, then if the Yarshim are now paying for her pizza, so then they should be able to get the stuff that she finds. So really I can make the argument that it's talking about, Amana Nizonis. Amana must be sustained by the orphans. Well, if that's the case, then how do you have a situation where she can keep the stuff that she finds? Well, time of Maya, how come the actually, I'm just going to point out that I think that there's a phone conversation going on. I think there's a phone conversation going on. Do you guys use the phone a lot? I never use the phone. That sounds like a phone conversation. Yep, that definitely sounds like a phone conversation. So my So how come, right? So how come they say that the stuff that a woman finds goes to her husband? So that there shouldn't be any enmity, animosity, because the husband would say it's not fair that I have to pay for her pizza, and then when she finds stuff, I can't. And then when she finds stuff, I can't even have it. So anitavilu eva. But so I understand by the husband, he might be upset if he's paying for all this pizza and he can't even have the stuff that she finds. But the Yorshim, it's not like they have a choice in the matter anyway, so let them be upset. Alright, let me tell you. Says the Gemara, Amr Reb Yossi bar Chanina, Kol Melacha sheisha osa levayla amona osa liyorshim. So any of the malachas, any of the activities that a woman does for her husband, a widow does for her the yorshim, the inheritors, the heirs of the husband. Chutz, with the exception of mzigas hakos, pouring their cups, v'atzas amita, and making their beds, v'archotzas ponav yodav v'raglav, or washing their faces, because that's more of like a husband-wife thing, not like a widow yorshim thing, okay. Any activities that a slave does for his master, a student does for his teacher, except for like taking off his teacher's shoe, because if he takes off the teacher's shoe, so then people might think that the student is an Eved, and we don't want that. So now says Rava, that's only in a place where they don't recognize the fellow, the student. But if they recognize that it's a student, he's not an Eved, so then he can even take off the shoe of the teacher, because nobody's going to think that he's an Eved, because they know him. Fine. Ravashi says so Nami, and even in a place where they don't recognize him, still when we say that he's not allowed to take off the shoe of his teacher, that That's only if he's not wearing tefillin. But if he's wearing tefillin, then it's okay, because avodim don't wear tefillin. I assume it's because it's a mitzvah eseh she'as man grom, and therefore avodim don't wear tefillin. Excuse me, Babylon. And because avodim don't wear tefillin, so if this fellow's wearing tefillin, so then he's clearly not neved, and therefore he could take off the shoes of his teacher. Omar, any teacher who prevents his student from serving him, it's like he's like holding back from him kindness. Shenemar lomas mireu chassid, that if a friend withholds from his fellow, i.e., like if the teacher withholds from the student the ability to help him out, chassid, it's like he's withholding from him charity, righteousness, good vibes. Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak Omer says, Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak af poik mimenu yirah shamayim. He releases from him fear of God, of heavens. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, via shaka yazov, and it makes you leave the fear of heaven. Amar Belazar says, Belazar amona shetofsa metatlim b'zonosel. Ho. So what if you have a widow, and so now her mizonis comes from karka, comes from property, but she chaptaran metaltlin. She took stuff. She took movable objects and was going to sell that and use the money to buy food. So mashatov. So whatever she chaptaran. So even though she's not supposed to do it, but if she chaptaran. Tanya Namiyachu, we also learn a verse like this: that a widow will chaptaran movable objects for her mizonis. Mashatov. So whatever she chaptaran. B'chein kiyasa chaparan is such a good thing. What would Babylon Talmud be without chaparan? Oh my gosh, dude! Just chaparan is like two pieces. The chaparan is like the two pieces of bread in a sandwich. As long as you have two pieces of bread, you can put whatever else you want in there. As long as it starts with chap and ends with a rein, you can put whatever you want in the middle. Chap whatever you want a rein. Chap a rein sandwich. Alright. Kiyasa Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came Amr, he said, there was a story with the daughter-in-law of Shabsi. She talks about that she chapped a sack full of money. That she chapped a sack full of money arayin. And the chacham weren't able to chap it back arayin from her. Amar Ravina, it says Ravina, and Blamar and Ella limzone. Now, meaning so she chapped arayin some money, which is metaltalin. Right, and they couldn't take it away from her. So it says Ravina, now this is only for mizone, Babylon. If you're wondering why I'm yawning so much, I think it's because it's like 8:30 at night, and I've been up since 3, and I only slept 5 hours last night. I think that's probably why I'm yawning. It might be that. So Amar Ravina, this is Ravina, that's only for mizonis. Right, if she chapped arayin metaltalin, so for mizonis, so beseder she chapped arayin. What do you want me to tell you? Aval ksubim mafkin and mina. But if she chapped arayin metaltalin to pay for a ksubah, that's a different story. Maskefla Mar Baravashi. Baravashi doesn't understand. Mashnan the ksubah to be makarkoiv lo metaltalin. 1 second. How come if she chaps arayin metaltalin for the ksubah it doesn't work? So because it says that the ksubah needs to be paid from karka, not from metaltalin. Mizonis nam, but also when it comes to mizonis, she's got to chap the mizonis arayin from karka, not from metaltalin. So limzone ma'detovsa. So rather, look, when it comes to mizonis, if she chaps metaltalin arayin, so she chapped it arayin. So achanami the ksubah. So also when it comes to the ksubah, if she chaps arayin stuff, but metaltalin for the ksubah, so then she chaps it arayin, and that's that. Amar le Rav Yitzchak bar Naftali. Ravina says Rav Yitzchak bar Naftali to Ravina, hachi aminon mishmei derava kavasech. That Rav Yitzchak bar Naftali says to Ravina that we say in the name of Rava, like you, that it's only for mizonis, it's not for ksubah. Fine. Meaning if she chaps arayin metaltalin for mizonis, so she chapped it arayin, but for the ksubah, it doesn't work. Well, I'm wearing earplugs. I always wear earplugs whenever I record. So you should just know, whenever I complain about the noise, it's because it comes even through the earplugs. That's how noisy the noise is. But granted, I think these earplugs might not be like the unnoisiest of earplugs. Okay. Let's see. Let's move it on. Amr Yochanan. That'll be on. Okay. Amr Yochanan Mishmed Rabbi Yossi ben Zimmer. Oh, says Rabbi Yochanan named Rabbi Yossi ben Zimmer. Almana sheshasa shtayim v'shalosh shanim. Tov mizonis. If you have a widow who waited 2 or 3 years and didn't claim her mizonis, right? So I don't know. The husband died, and then for 2 years she's supporting herself. She's buying her own food, and she didn't claim mizonis for 2 or 3 years. Ibda mizonis, so then she loses the mizonis. We'll have to see what that means. Hashta shtayim ibda shalosh mibaya. 1 second. If you say after 2 years she loses it, so memela after 3 years she loses it. Lo kasha kam ba'aniyah kam ba'ashira. That, well, it depends. A poor widow who we can assume needs the sustenance and for whatever reason hasn't collected for 2 years, so after 2 years then it's already considered too long. But in Ashira, if she's wealthy and she can afford to sustain herself, then I can understand why it would take longer, why it would be 3 years, right? Because she could hold out longer. Inami, kam beputza kam betznua. Alternatively, a prutza, right, a widow who is sort of more comfortable going in front of Bezdin and asking for the mazonis, so then since she only has 2 years, because if you feel comfortable, so then just go already. But kambitznua, if you have a widow who doesn't feel comfortable going to Bezdin and asking for the mazonis, so then, we give her more time, 3 years. So the Rava explains that what does this mean, that if she doesn't collect mazonos for 2 years or 3 years, she loses it? It means that she doesn't, it's not like if she doesn't collect for 2 years or 3 years, then she can never collect mazonos anymore. No, it just means that she can't collect the mazonos of the past 2 or 3 years anymore. Right, meaning once it's been 2 or 3 years, she can't now show up at the Yisomin and say, okay, now I want to collect all the mazonis that I consumed for the past 2 or 3 years, right? Yeah, I want you to pay my grocery bills for the last 2 or 3 years, right? She can't do that. But if she says, look, I know I haven't collected for the past 2 or 3 years, but I want to start collecting now, okay, it's a different story. Like I can almost imagine, I don't know, maybe you have, a mother. Right, the father passes away, and then you have the mother, and she's working, whatever. So she, and the estate is the kids, and she says, "Look, I'm gonna take care of myself." But then maybe she retires, and then, and then maybe she is looking to the estate and saying, from now on, it would be great if I could be taking some money for the estate to pay for certain things. So whatever it is, so meaning, but she's, she wouldn't be able to say I want you to now, pay me back for all my grocery bills for the past 10 years. But so it means from retroactively she can't collect, but she can collect from that point forward. By Rabbi Yochanan has a kasha. Friends, you hear the kasha? So we have a conflict over here. What is it? The orphans are saying, look, we paid her already for her mizonis, right? We gave her money to pay for her food. And she says, lo natalti. She says, not true. I didn't chaperai. So I didn't receive anything. I didn't receive money to pay for stuff. So the burden of proof is upon whom? Do we say that the property is in the possession of the Yisomim, of the orphans, and therefore, they're with them, and if she wants to extract it from them, she's going to have to bring up witnesses to say that they overheard the orphans admit that they haven't yet paid for the mizonis. Or maybe the property is considered in the chazaka, in the possession of the widow, because she's right. It's Tanai Ksubis, right? This is stuff that she's owed, and therefore the orphans, the burden of proof would be on the orphans. Tashma, Tani Levi, that Levi taught. Amon Kozman, Shalonises Alisom Laviraya. So an almone, as long as she isn't married, so then Alisom Laviraya, right? Meaning the husband passes away. As long as she hasn't gotten remarried, so then yeah, she's entitled to mizonos, and the orphans would have to bring the proof. And Nisei Saleh Lavi, but once she gets remarried and then she no longer is entitled to the mizonos and she wants to get paid back, so then she's gonna have to bring the proof. Barashi Kitanoi, it's takalank machlokas tanoim. What's this machlokas tanoim? Mocheres v'koseves elu lemizonis macharti beid luksub macharti. So if you have a widow and she's selling property, so she's got to specify, okay, I sold this property for my mizonis and I sold this property for my ksubah, right? She has to include that in the document. So Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, that's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Yossi, he says, Rabbi Yossi, mocheres v'koseves stam, v'chein kocha yofe. Rabbi Yossi says that, they're making seltzer upstairs. So Rabbi Yossi says that no, better for her to just write a document and not specify whether it's for the ksuba or whether it's for the mizonos, and that's better. So my lav, so what's the difference between, what are they arguing about? Why does Rabbi Yehuda say that better to specify in the document if she's selling it for mizonos or for the ksuba, and according to Rabbi Yossi, better to leave it out? Rabbi Yehuda says that they should specify, that she should specify in the document if she's selling the land for mizonis or for ksubah. That the property is in the possession of the orphans, and it's upon her to bring a proof. And therefore, if she doesn't specify in the document that she's selling it for mizonis, well then, if she comes later on to collect her ksubah, the orphans can say, no, the one that you already sold was for your ksuba. Leave us alone. We're not paying for your ksuba. You already received your ksuba. So therefore, since the burden of proof is upon her, she needs to specify in the documents, no, if she's selling it for mizonis, so then she'll write that it's for mizonis. And when she's selling it for the ksuba, she'll write that it's for the ksuba. And that way, if she has a document saying that she sold her field for mizonis, and now later on she's coming to collect from the orphans the ksuba, so then everything's documented and they don't have a proof, right? They can't make the argument, no, you already collected your ksuba. No, the document makes it clear that it was sold not for the ksuba but for the mizonis. Reb Yossi Savar says, Reb Yossi lo boy the frushe nichse lo boy the frushe, and Reb Yossi holds that she doesn't write anything in the document because nichse b'cheskas almona kaime. Then because according to Reb Yossi, the property are considered in her possession. V'alisom lavi raya, and it's upon the Yisomim to bring a proof, and therefore better for her not to specify anything, because if she would specify, let's say in the document that it was for a ksuba, well then she won't be able to collect it anymore later, because then the orphans will say that you already collected your ksuba, but if she just doesn't say anything, she doesn't have to worry about writing the wrong thing, right? And she can always collect her ksuba later, and it's upon the orphans to bring proof that, to say that the ksuba had already been paid. So says the Gemara Mimai. How do we know that this is necessarily the case? Maybe even Rabbi Yehuda holds that the property is considered in the possession of the widow, and the burden of proof is on the orphans. Well, if that's the case, then why does Rabbi Yehuda say that she needs to specify in the documents which one is for the mizonos, which one is for the ksubah? Rabbi Yehuda is just giving good advice when he says to put which sale was for the ksuba and which sale was for the mizonos. That nobody should call her a glutton. That if they see that she's selling these fields, and that if they see that she's selling these fields for right, and she's not specifying them, then the yentis in the bungalow colony on Shabbos afternoon might think that she's selling all of it for the food. And they're going to be like, whoa, why has she got to eat so much? What's the deal? Maybe, and then they're going to start thinking, well, if she eats so much, maybe, who knows, maybe there's some they're going to make up some kind of a problem. Because if she's eating too much, then there must be some kind of a problem. And they're going to start talking, and who knows where that's going to lead to. And so we don't want that. So they just therefore better to just specify that no, don't worry, I'm not eating too much. I'm just I'm just looking to pay my ksuba. And it makes sense to say that this is just good advice, because if we say that it isn't simply just good advice, well then when Rabbi Yochanan is asking, is it in the possession, right? Do we say that the chazaka is with the Isobim, or is the chazaka with the Amana? Well, if we look at where is this? Our next Mishnah or Mishnah? No, Mishnah coming up. Mocheres l'mezonis shelo bebezdin, that a widow can sell property for mizonis outside of Bezdin, doesn't have to be in Bezdin, because mizonis macharti. And she writes that I sold these for mizonis. So now, if you're going to say that she has to write that, well then it means that the property is in the possession of the Yisomim, and therefore Rabbi Yochanan has an answer to his question. But the fact that Rabbi Yochanan doesn't simply look to the Mishnah and right where it says that she has to write that it's for mizonis and say, okay, so clearly it's b'chezkas Yisomim, he doesn't say that. So therefore, it must be must be that the upcoming Mishnah that it says that she writes that it's for mizonis must simply be good advice, but not that she has to write it, implying that the property is in the possession of the Yisomim. No, it's not implying that, and it's just good advice. So here also, you could say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, he would also say that the property is in the chazaka of the almana, but it's just good advice to write which one's for the Ksubis and which one's for the mazonas, so nobody thinks that she's gluttonous. Alternatively, or alternatively, you could say that everyone agrees that the property is in the chazaka of the Yisomim. Taima de Rabbi Yossi. This is the reason of Rabbi Yossi. So this is why Rabbi Yossi says that, right, that even though it's in the possession of the Yisomim, she doesn't need to specify anything. It's like Abai Kshisha Damar Abai Kshisha. It says Abai Kshisha Moshe Rabbi Yossi L'Madav Adom, that Rabbi Yossi's opinion, where he says that even though the property is in the possession of the Yisomim, still better for her to just not write anything in her documents. It's similar to Shchiv Meira, to a person who's on his deathbed, that the person on his deathbed says, give 200 zuz to so-and-so who I owe money to. Now this fellow can receive this 200 zuz either as repayment for the money that he lent, or he can receive them simply as a gift. So in Matan and Otlan, so he's better off receiving them as a gift, because if he receives them as a gift, he can always come back to the estate and say, okay, I want to collect my I lent your father money, I want to get paid back. Then you say, we paid you back. He says, no, that's a gift. So if he accepts it as a gift, he can then collect it as he can then collect it later as repayment for his loan. So here also, when it comes to the Ksubis, Rabbi Yossi says, yeah, even though it's in the possession of the Yisomim, still it's better for not to specify anything. If she writes in the document that she's selling the field for the Ksubis, well then she won't be able to claim anything anymore. So therefore, better to keep her options open, so at least later on she can claim that she's collecting her Ksubis. Alright, friends, that was Daf Tzadi Vav, Masechet Ksubis. Hope you enjoyed. We started the new parak, the 11th parak of Masechet Ksubis. We talked about the Almoneh and how she gets sustained. We saw the machlokas about, is it like the Anshe Galil that say that an Almoneh needs to be sustained from the estate, or is it like the Anshe Yehuda who say that they can just pay it off immediately if they want? We saw the machlokas between Ravina and Marbar Vashi about right. So we said that if she chaps arayin metaltlin for her mizonis, then beseder, we can let her keep it. The question is, well, how does that work for Ksubis? Ravina says that it would not work for Ksubis, whereas Marbar Vashi says that it should work for Ksubis. We said that Namona has 2 or 3 years, right, for a window of 2 or 3 years to sort of ask for repayment of money that she laid out for food. But after that, she can no longer ask to be repaid for that period, but she can continue asking in the future. And then we asked the kasha about if the Yisomim claim that they already paid for Mazonos and she says that she didn't receive it, so upon whom is the burden of responsibility? We said that prior to being married, the burden of proof is upon the Yisomim. After she's married, the burden of proof is upon her. We try to bring a proof. We try to make it like a machlokas tanoim, but we kind of explain that maybe it's not necessarily definitive. Friends, that's Daf Tzadi Vav Masechet Ksubis. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.